Hi, this is Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow with Expansions.com. I'm coming here today to help you learn how to connect the dots of everything that's going on in the outside world. I want to start with the Joseph Kony story. Now, who ever heard of Joseph Kony until the story aired about the Invisible Children? The Invisible Children was a film allegedly put together to bring attention to Joseph Kony so that the world would put pressure on him to bring him down. He is wanted by the International Criminal Court, accused of abducting children to use as fighters and sex slaves, and apparently he has a fondness for hacking off limbs. He founded the Lord's Resistance Army in the 1980s and terrorized large parts of Uganda, but his reign of terror has subsided since the year 2005. Now, interestingly enough, there's enough pressure put on Uganda out there that the Prime Minister decided to put out a YouTube video. And on the YouTube video he says, quote, "Uganda is not in conflict. Uganda is a modern developing country which enjoys peace, stability, and security." He says the Kony 2012 campaign fails to make one crucial point very clear, and that is that Joseph Kony is not even in Uganda, unquote. Now, the video that was called Invisible Children was made by the California-based filmmaker Jason Russell and was viewed by up to 80 million different people. There apparently is an agenda, otherwise it would not have gone viral like it did, as fast as it did. In fact, apparently there were Twitter tags that were endorsed by such celebrities as Justin Bieber, George Clooney, and Oprah Winfrey. So all of a sudden, here we go, we've got something put in front of the people, and it's all over the news. Now, why is that? For starters, you want to remember that that the global handlers are destined to keep people out of Africa, and one of the ways that they do this is fear. Africa is an extremely rich nation that has been plundered and pillaged by the wealthy for decades, and apparently it's not going to stop. So I believe the purpose of this video is to promote fear and to refocus the world's attention to yet another part of Africa. Now, on top of all of this, the viral and whatnot, now that it has the world's attention, the video's filmmaker, Jason Russell's programming seems to have broken down, because by now, I'm sure all of you have seen the video of him with the allegations of his various sexual attitudes and activities that he has been doing publicly. And now why would that happen? Here is somebody that all of a sudden is doing something good for the world, supposedly running around naked, masturbating in public, attacking cars, doing all kinds of things. Well, my guess is either he stopped cooperating or his handlers wanted a message to be sent to someone. Do this or this could be you next. And finally, I want you to also understand that the Russell family is part of the Committee of 300. So there's some kind of message that's being sent somewhere. And it's all a fiasco as far as I'm concerned, because according to Uganda, there really isn't even a situation that's happening right now. So why did this make the news? Why are celebrities promoting it? And why is this being put out there for you to be distracted? What's going on? I think you need to continue to be very vigilant, because you just don't know what's going to happen next out there. Next, we have Rick Santorum, who is our presidential hopeful, who has announced that he wants to work to ban hardcore internet porn. Why? Because they want the internet porn in your face. They want you to be looking at it, they want you to be focused at it, and they want it to grow. Because anything that is out there that they don't want you to notice, that's when they tell you don't notice it, and everybody goes there. So hardcore pornography is part of the new world religion. Next, we have Kathy Griffin. How many of you watched her do her little striptease for Anderson Cooper on New Year's Eve for the world? Now, for some reason, David Letterman last night dared her to do it on his show, and of course she took off her clothes there again. So what are they doing? They're imprinting you with the idea that it is okay for women of all ages to strip their clothes wherever they are in public. It may seem kind of like a joke, but again, you want to look at the trends that are going on. You've got a naked man out here who just did something for supposedly good to help save children, and now he's running around being accused. Now you have a woman in her midlife, we'll say, who's taking her clothes off on television for the whole world to see. You have the presidential hopeful talking about internet porn and bringing that down. So you have to watch the trends that are coming together and start making sense of these things for yourself. Next we have the Hunger Games movies. Now the Hunger Games movie, they're making a big thing about it, that as well. The other day, I don't even remember where it was on the internet, and some little survey box popped up and said, how likely are you to go watch the Hunger Games movie? They're making it be a very big deal. The book, when they first came out, there's a series of 3. When the first one came out, I remember it because they had celebrities walking around with the book, and they were showing it here and they were showing it there. They already wanted to imprint you about how important this movie is. Well, what is it about? If you haven't read the book, it is about humans who are used as prey for the pleasure of the elite in a government that supposedly rules in the ruins of North America. Now, where have we heard this before? We have told you, Stewart and I have told you many times, and you may have read this in other books on mind control and programming, that one of the games that the Illuminati likes to do is to take their human prey and put them in wilderness situations and hunt them down to the death. Now they're making a movie about it after they wrote the book, and people are going to be imitating art. I will tell you that. These things will happen before you know it, and people will volunteer. They will give them money, they will give them something to do, but they will be volunteering for these kinds of games. And it's just amazing that we imprint people, and here we go, they're taking up the call themselves. A society that willingly hands over its youth for killing games is it's really a sad state, and that's going to be happening next. You watch. You will be surprised. Justin Bieber, speaking of somebody who is young, has just appeared on the cover of Complex magazine. You may never have heard that one either, but he appears on here bloodied and bruised. Why? Again, so you can get used to not only seeing but accepting your youth this way. You're already sending them off to war for causes that many of you do not even believe exist. Now you're going to be sending them off for pleasure games, and you're going to get used to seeing them this way. Speaking of imprinting, more proof that celebrities are bred for specific purposes, such as Blue Ivy. I'm sure you've all heard of her now, the baby of Beyonce Knowles and Jay-Z. Now, I already told you that they tried to trademark her name, but apparently there are several pre-existing businesses with the name Blue Ivy, and so they haven't let the issue drop, but they're still moving that one along. Now, what you may or may not have heard is that she is now being called the Antichrist. Why is that? Again, they want to have the word Antichrist out there in your frequency. They don't care how they get it out there, they're just going to put it out there. And of course, you may or may not know that there's now a popular marijuana strain called Blue Ivy, and her father wrote a song which he sang shortly after her birth. So Blue Ivy is out there, and as a side note, I want you to remember that color codes are often used as programming triggers. So now we have the color blue, which means present, and we have ivy. And what does ivy do? Ivy chokes and strangles out everything else that is in its way. So you watch, that is a programming icon in the making. And you're watching that happen right before your very eyes. You may also be interested to know that Beyonce, her mother, has a new species of horsefly named after her. Now, don't you find that one interesting? Beyonce was once a member, quote, of a group called Destiny's Child, which recorded the 2001 hit single Bootylicious. The fly got its bootyful name from its extreme diva feature, a big gold butt. It was this unique, dense golden hairs on the fly's abdomen that led me to name this fly in honor of the performer Beyonce, as well as giving me the chance to demonstrate the fun side of taxonomy, the naming of species, says the species founder. Now again, excuse me, what does a horse mean? A horse means a messenger, and what is a fly? A fly is something annoying that you want to shoo away. So listen to what's going on out there publicly, because this is going to tell you the impact that they're trying to have on your life specifically. Now, going on with celebrities that are bred for specific purposes, I want to direct your attention back to Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, who collect children of all races. With this in mind, why not give them a transgender or an androgynous child, which is something else that they want to bring out into the forefront right now. If you take a look at their 6-year-old daughter, Shiloh, they're trying to turn her into a boy. According to the research that I did when bringing up this story to you, I was interested to find that there were actually 4 different names that she's now asking to be called. At various times in her life, remember she's only 6, she has asked to be called John, she's asked to be called Ben, she's been asked to be called Peter, and she has now asked, the last that I heard, to be called Shax, S-H-A-X. And also Shiloh, which is her given name, is considered a unisex name. So as she grows up, these reports can be referred to, saying, well, she was always this way. So what are they going to do with her? Are they going to make her transgender? Are they going to turn her into someone who's androgynous? They obviously have plans for this little girl. So whatever it is, watch Shiloh, because this again is going to be setting the trend for another generation of people. On another note, Sweden is taking the lead and becoming the first nation to actively start removing cash from its systems. Banks, of course, make money on electronic purchases, not on cash transactions. So they are all for going to the plastic card because they are going to be making more money. Interestingly enough, not too long ago on one of our trips that we took overseas, where we had to purchase a headphone for $2 US, we were told we could not pay cash, only credit cards. So I had to purchase a $2 set of headphones using my plastic card. And I thought, interesting, here we go. Speaking of banks, banks and slavery. Now, how does that go together? One of the newer movements that's now being put out there for you in another area of Africa is the country of Mauritania. They're talking about freeing slaves in Mauritania, and they're defining slavery as any form of indebtedness, amongst other things. So I was thinking to myself, you know what? Credit card companies here in the U.S., they can charge up to 27%. And to me, I think this is usury, and I think that should be illegal, and I think that is a form of slavery right here in the U.S. because not only can they charge up to 27% fee, if you're late, then they can charge you another $35 fee. And if you have a cash advance, they can charge you a $35 fee in addition, excuse me, to the usury fee and in addition to your late fee. So they're making a lot of money, and the people of the U.S. with credit cards who are in these kind of situations, I think that that is slavery. And while I certainly empathize with people in other parts of the world, I think we need to take care of what's happening right here under our own eyes, and once we do, everything else will come together. But rather than focus us off in a country in Africa, let's take a look at what's happening to our people right here, and let's do our best to fix it. I think we need to work on ending our own victim mentality before that we start traipsing off overseas to end other people's victim mentalities, because we have plenty of work that needs to happen right here at home. Another couple of stories, it's just loaded with stories here this last week. And a lot of these are just ones that I'm aware of, maybe you already know, that there is a headquarters that was built in Los Angeles, California for Hitler. Now again, isn't this interesting that they're bringing out the Nazi connection once again? Apparently, there was hope of 2 landowners who built a 50-acre compound called Murphy's Ranch in 1933, which was designed to be a self-sustaining Nazi community ruled by Adolf Hitler, under the thrall of a mystical Herr Schmidt, who may have been a German spy. The couple and a band of Nazi sympathizers known as the Silver Shirts worked in the compound doing military exercises and preparing for war. The Daily Mail, which is reporting this story, revisits the historic compound and notes that the height of its glory, it was outfitted with a diesel power plant, a 375,000-gallon water tank, a giant meat locker, and a bomb shelter. So right here in the U.S. for Adolf Hitler. So this is telling you more information about what really happened and what was expected to happen with him. So keep your eyes open, because Hitler doesn't go away either. I've told you many times about what's gone on with the Fourth Reich and other Nazi-related information that is helping you understand what is going on in your world today and why. On another note, I want to remind you about the Costa Concordia that sunk on January 13 and owned by Carnival Cruise Lines. Now, Carnival Cruise Lines has been plagued with difficulty this year. Somebody's out to get them. And I made a list because something else happened today. And so I went back to make sure I had all my dates in order. And it's like every time I turn around, there's something happening to Carnival. January 13th was the Costa Concordia, of course, which made news. Then from there, we go to February 7th, where there was a non-virus outbreak for the second time on a ship. And that ship's cruise was ended early. February 23rd. The Carnival passengers who were traveling aboard the Splendor were robbed at gunpoint while they were on a shore excursion in Mexico. On February 27th, the Costa Allegra had a fire that broke out. On March 14th, the Princess had a propulsion problem. And on March 19th, the Silver Sea ship collided off of Vietnam in supposedly a dense fog with a cargo tanker. So somebody is out to get Carnival. So keep your eyes open, and not only that, perhaps they don't want you sailing on the sea itself because they're trying to keep you out of the air. Now they're trying to keep you off of the water. What's going on that they don't want you to know about? Well, speaking of which, I happened to get some information, which was interesting, about a monster finger, I will say, that is approximately 38 centimeters long. My sources say that it was in the possession of an Egyptian family who was living off of grave-robbed ancient treasures. The finger was given from one son to the next for the last 150 years. It was x-rayed and the bone is still attached. And one last story of interest to you about a 47-inch human femur that supposedly in the late 1950s during road construction in the southeast of Turkey, they found many tombs containing the remains of giants. At two of the sites, the leg bones were recovered, and there was a replica made which is now in Texas. So interesting stories. And you may recall that Stewart met an archaeologist in South America not too long ago who says that he personally witnessed a 9-foot cyclops in suspended animation buried deep in the Andes Mountains. So there are lots of mysteries out there that they are trying to keep from you, and they're putting all kinds of distractions out there, either for you personally, such as your finances, or out across the world. There are plenty of ways to distract you. So I will tell you, be true to yourself, do what you know to be correct. I hope that you will be joining me in April, because in April we are going into our spring health seminar, which will help you put yourself on the correct path for you. Disease, death, detox, and determination. This will happen in April, and we will be showing a preview of the Montauk Chronicles film as well. It's going to be an amazing event. We are here to help you put the pieces of your personal puzzle together so that you are not at the mercy of the global handlers, so that you do find your personal power and you get your own answers for yourself. We are helping you to see the trends so that you learn to pick them out for yourselves, so that you can be aware and you can take the necessary steps to take care of your mind, because it is your mind that brings your specific experiences to you. So with that note, I would like to thank you for joining me. Please be aware, keep your mind open, and come and see us in St. Joseph or join us on one of our webinars. However you do it, we appreciate your time, your interest, and your support of expansions.com. Good night.